My name is Edward Miller, and I'm a 68-year-old retired engineer. After my wife passed away 3 years ago, my life felt quiet, too quiet. My daughter, Samantha, and her husband, Jason, visited occasionally, but I could tell they saw me as a burden more than family. A few months ago, Samantha called me out of the blue, all cheerful and sweet. "Dad, guess what? Jason and I want to gift you a vacation. You deserve some sunshine. How about Hawaii?" I was surprised. They were never the overly generous type. But the thought of warm beaches and palm trees sounded wonderful. I said yes, thinking maybe they just wanted to do something kind for once. They booked everything. Flights, hotel, even a fancy tour package. I was genuinely touched. When I got there, it was paradise. I hadn't felt that relaxed in years. Every morning I'd sip coffee on the balcony overlooking the ocean, thinking how lucky I was to have such a thoughtful daughter. But things started to feel odd. On my third day, I realized they never mentioned when I'd be flying back. So I messaged Samantha. No reply. Jason's number went straight to voicemail. I figured maybe they were busy, but deep down, something felt off. A few days later, while walking past the resort's pool, I heard a voice that froze me in my tracks. It was Samantha. She was sitting in a shaded corner, talking on the phone, and she didn't see me. "Yes, Mom's estate transfer is almost done," she said quietly. "Once Dad's gone, it'll all be ours. The trip worked out perfectly. He won't be coming back." My blood ran cold. Won't be coming back? I stepped behind a palm tree, my heart pounding so loud I thought it might give me away. She continued. "No, he doesn't suspect a thing. By the time anyone realizes, he'll be, missing. Jason already told the bank we're handling his assets." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own daughter, plotting to get rid of me for money. I slowly backed away, my mind spinning. I returned to my room, sat on the bed, and stared at my luggage. My flight home, or what I thought was my flight home, wasn't even booked. They had sent me here to disappear. But I wasn't going down that easily. That night, I went online to check my ticket confirmation, and sure enough, it was a one-way ticket. No return flight, no hotel extension beyond the week. Everything ended that Friday. I knew I needed a plan. I wasn't about to confront her yet, not until I made sure I could turn the tables. So I made a few calls. Old colleagues, a friend from my days in logistics who owed me a favor, and by the time Samantha called me the next morning, pretending everything was fine, I had already set my plan in motion. She said sweetly, "Hey, Dad, enjoying Hawaii? We'll book your return soon, don't worry." I smiled into the phone and replied, "Oh, don't you worry, sweetheart. I'll see about that myself." Because this vacation was about to become her biggest mistake. After that phone call, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying her words. He won't be coming back. The girl I raised, the one who used to hold my hand when she was scared of thunderstorms, now wanted me gone for money. But she clearly underestimated me. I wasn't just some old man waiting to die. I spent 40 years as an engineer, solving complex problems, and I was about to solve this one too. First thing the next morning, I went to the local police station in Honolulu. I calmly told them my story. At first, they looked skeptical, like I was just some confused tourist. But then I showed them the evidence, my one-way flight confirmation, the bank emails Samantha had forwarded for verification that conveniently transferred my account access to her, and the recording I secretly made of her poolside conversation. That last one caught their attention. The officer leaned back in his chair, eyebrows raised. "Sir,
If this is real, you might have just uncovered a serious case of attempted fraud, or worse." They took copies of everything. Then the officer said, "Don't call your daughter. Act normal. We'll set something up." And that's exactly what I did. For the next 2 days, I played the perfect victim, sending cheerful selfies from the beach, texting her, "Thank you for this amazing vacation," while the police traced her financial activity. Turns out, Samantha and Jason had already been in contact with a shady local business associate, someone who specialized in making people disappear. They had promised him a cut of my estate. But what they didn't know was that the police were already waiting for them. On the 5th day, Samantha flew to Hawaii, pretending to surprise me. She showed up at the resort lobby, all smiles and fake affection. "Dad, I missed you." I smiled back, pretending I didn't know a thing. "Sweetheart, what a surprise! Let's grab dinner tonight. There's something I want to show you." That evening, we sat at a seaside restaurant. She was nervous, trying to keep up small talk. I noticed Jason wasn't with her, probably waiting somewhere to finish the plan. Halfway through dinner, I placed my phone on the table and said quietly, "You know, Sam, I overheard your little chat with Jason the other day about how this was a one-way trip." Her face went pale. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Before she could say more, 2 plainclothes officers approached our table and flashed their badges. "Samantha Miller, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted homicide." Her jaw dropped. She looked at me horrified. "Dad, you set me up?" I looked her straight in the eye and said, "No, Sam, you set yourself up. I just pressed record." Jason was arrested that same night at the airport trying to flee back to California. Their business associate turned out to be an undercover cop. When I flew home the next day, this time with a round-trip ticket and a police escort, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. They thought they were sending me on a one-way trip to my grave. Instead, they sent themselves straight to prison.
The next few days were a blur. After Samantha and Jason's arrest, I stayed in Hawaii under police protection while they gathered more evidence. I wasn't allowed to leave the island just yet, which was fine by me. I'd grown attached to the sound of the waves, the slow rhythm of island life. But when the shock faded, something else settled in. Hurt. Deep, bitter hurt. How did it come to this? My own daughter plotting my death for money? One afternoon, Detective Rains, the lead investigator, visited me at the resort. "Mr. Miller, I have to say, your calm thinking saved your life. We've confirmed your daughter and her husband had been draining your retirement accounts for months." I closed my eyes. I'd suspected Jason was handling my finances too eagerly, but I trusted them. Foolishly. "We also found out," Rains continued, "that Jason forged your signature on several documents. They were planning to declare you legally deceased once you disappeared." That word hit me like a punch. Deceased. That's all I was to them. A bank account waiting to be emptied. I spent that evening walking along the beach, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. I realized something important. I didn't just want revenge anymore. I wanted closure. So the next day, I asked to visit Samantha in custody. She looked exhausted, hair messy, eyes red from crying. When she saw me through the glass, she started sobbing. "Dad, please, I didn't mean to go that far. Jason said it was just to scare you, not—" I raised my hand, cutting her off. "Stop. You and I both know what you said. You called it a one-way trip. I heard it, Sam. She put her head in her hands. I don't know what got into me. We were drowning in debt. Jason said the insurance money would fix everything. Insurance money. That explained the estate transfer. They had taken out a life insurance policy in my name. I looked at her, tears burning behind my eyes. I gave you everything, Sam. You didn't have to steal from me. You just had to ask. She cried harder, pressing her head to the glass, but I couldn't comfort her. That part of me, the soft, forgiving father, had died the moment I heard her plotting my death. After that, I left without saying another word. A few weeks later, back on the mainland, I started rebuilding my life. I moved to a quiet town in Oregon, bought a small cottage near the woods, and planted a garden, something I'd always wanted to do with my late wife. Every morning, I'd sit on the porch, sipping coffee, thinking about everything that happened. And though I still felt the sting of betrayal, I also felt grateful. Grateful that I was still alive. But deep inside, I knew it wasn't over. Jason's family had powerful connections, and I had this gut feeling he wasn't going to take prison quietly. Sure enough, one morning I got a call from Detective Rains. Mr. Miller, we just received word. Jason's lawyers are trying to get him out on bail. They're claiming you framed him. I stared at the phone, disbelief turning into anger. Framed him? He and my daughter nearly killed me, and now they're twisting the story? I took a long breath. Detective, I said slowly, if they want to play games, I'll play better. I have recordings, emails, bank transfers, everything. Let's make sure this time they can never hurt anyone again. Rains chuckled quietly. You really are an engineer, Mr. Miller, always building solutions. And he was right, because I wasn't done. Not until everyone who helped them paid the price.
3 months had passed since that horrifying trip to Hawaii. Life in Oregon was calm, quiet, and healing, at least on the surface. But every time the phone rang, I still felt my heart race. Trauma does that to you. Then, one cloudy morning, I got a call from Detective Rains again. Mr. Miller, you were right. Jason's lawyers filed an appeal. They're arguing the recording was obtained illegally and that you framed him for fraud. I clenched my jaw. That man had no shame. What about Samantha? I asked. She took a plea deal. She's cooperating with us. But Jason, he's denying everything, and his lawyers are vicious. I sat in silence for a moment, staring out the window at the rain dripping down the glass. Jason had always been a slick talker, charming, persuasive. He could make anyone believe anything. But this time, I wasn't going to let him twist the truth. That afternoon, I opened the old box I'd kept since returning from Hawaii. Inside were printed emails, phone records, screenshots, everything. I'd even kept my resort key card, which had timestamps showing exactly where I was when Samantha made that phone call. Every detail mattered. But there was one piece I hadn't revealed to the police yet, something I'd saved for when I needed it most. A hidden camera I'd bought at the resort. I had placed it in my room's balcony light fixture after hearing Samantha's first suspicious call. The footage caught her and Jason visiting my room the night before my supposed flight home. They went through my suitcase, whispering. Jason's voice. We'll leave his passport at the docks. By the time they find it, the Current will have done the rest. I felt my chest tighten as I replayed that clip. I hadn't even realized I had it until recently. But now, it was the nail in their coffin. I called Detective Rains immediately. Detective, I found something. You'll want to see this. When he came by the next day and I showed him the footage, his eyes widened. Well, Mr. Miller, he said slowly, that right there just ended Jason's appeal before it even starts.
He arranged for the evidence to be sent straight to the district attorney. And just like that, Jason's story began to crumble. But here's the thing. He didn't go down quietly. 2 weeks later, I started receiving anonymous letters in the mail. No return address. Just short, threatening notes. "You think you're safe, old man? You took everything from me, now I'll take it back." The handwriting was familiar, angry, shaky. I showed it to the detective, and he confirmed my fear. Jason had friends outside, people willing to intimidate me. The police placed a security patrol around my property, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. So I decided to fight back in my own way, publicly. With Rain's help, I contacted a local journalist who specialized in fraud and elder abuse. When she heard my story, she was speechless. She interviewed me, gathered evidence, and a week later, my story aired on national TV. Elderly man survives daughter and son-in-law's murder plot, turns tables with proof. The reaction was overwhelming. People sent me letters of support, lawyers offered free help, and Jason's friends vanished into thin air once the spotlight hit. The exposure crushed whatever chance Jason had left. His bail appeal was denied, and prosecutors added witness intimidation to his charges. When the reporter asked me on camera, "Mr. Miller, what would you say to your daughter now?" I paused for a moment, then said softly, "I'd tell her I forgive her, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I just hope she finds her soul again, because somewhere along the way, she lost it." The video went viral across the U.S. Millions watched it, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt free. But freedom doesn't erase scars. Every night when I turn off the lights, I still see the beaches of Hawaii, not as paradise anymore, but as a reminder of how close I came to losing everything. And though I thought it was all finally over, I was wrong, because one evening I received a letter that made my blood run cold. This time, from Samantha herself. It said only 6 words. "Dad, I need to tell you something."
The letter arrived on a rainy Thursday. It was handwritten, folded neatly in a plain white envelope. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable. My daughter's. For a long moment, I just stared at it, my fingers trembling slightly. Part of me didn't even want to open it. After everything that had happened, the lies, the betrayal, the months of fear, I wasn't sure I wanted to hear anything from her ever again. But curiosity, or maybe a sliver of fatherly love I thought had died, made me open it. It read, "Dad, I know you probably hate me, and you have every right to, but I need to tell you something before it's too late. Jason wasn't just after your money. There's someone else, someone who helped him set everything up, someone still out there. Please don't ignore this. I'm scared." That last line, "I'm scared," stuck in my mind like a hook. For the first time, I saw fear in her words, real fear. And if Samantha was scared of someone, that meant the nightmare wasn't truly over. I took the letter straight to Detective Rains. He read it carefully, then looked up at me. "She's telling the truth. During Jason's investigation, there were financial transactions we couldn't trace, funds that went offshore. Maybe she's referring to whoever handled that." "You think Jason had a partner?" I asked. "Oh, I'm sure of it. And if Samantha's scared, we'd better find out why, fast." Rains arranged for Samantha to be transferred from county jail to a secure interview location. I agreed to meet her there. When I walked into that cold, gray room, she looked like a different person. Thinner, paler, broken. She hesitated before speaking. "Dad, Jason wasn't the one who came up with the plan. He was working for someone, a man named Victor Hale. He runs a network that targets elderly people with big savings. Jason found him online. Victor promised him a cut if he could get full control of your assets. My stomach dropped. So that's how it all started. Jason wasn't just greedy, he was recruited. "Why didn't you say anything earlier, Sam?" I asked quietly. "Because I thought they'd come after me if I did. Jason told me if I ever talked, Victor would make sure I disappeared instead." Her voice cracked when she said that, and for the first time, I didn't see the selfish woman who betrayed me. I saw my terrified little girl again. Rains took notes and promised they'd follow the lead. But later that night, something terrifying happened. When I returned home, I found my front gate open. I never left it that way. The porch light was off, though I clearly remembered turning it on before leaving. And sitting on my porch step was another envelope. No postage, no markings. Someone had placed it there by hand. Inside, a single piece of paper. It read, "Stop digging, or next time we finish what your daughter couldn't." No signature. I called Rains immediately, and within an hour, 2 squad cars arrived. They swept the area, found tire marks near the dirt road, but no camera footage. Whoever had done it knew exactly how to avoid being seen. Rains looked furious. "This isn't just about you anymore, Mr. Miller. This Hale guy, if he's real, might be connected to bigger cases. We'll assign surveillance and dig deeper." That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind against the window made me jump. And then, around 2 a.m., I heard it. A faint noise outside. A car engine idling. Just sitting there. I peered through the blinds. A dark sedan was parked by the edge of my driveway, headlights off. And just as I reached for my phone to call Rains, the engine roared and the car sped away. My heart pounded. Whoever was out there knew where I lived, and that meant Victor Hale wasn't just a name. He was watching. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of sirens outside my house. 2 police cruisers were parked by the curb, and Detective Rains was standing in the rain, looking grim. "Morning, Mr. Miller," he said. "We ran the plates from the tire marks near your gate. They were fake. Whoever's watching you knows how to cover their tracks." I felt a cold shiver crawl down my spine. "You think it's this Victor guy?" "I'd bet my badge on it," he said. "We've heard his name before, whispered in other fraud cases, but no one's ever been able to prove he exists. Until now." Rains told me they were opening a federal investigation. The FBI would get involved soon, but for now, he wanted me under protection. "You're staying at a safe house," he said firmly. "We can't risk you being alone here." I didn't argue. Within hours, I was relocated to a cabin on the outskirts of town, guarded by 2 plainclothes officers. It was quiet, surrounded by trees, the kind of place that would normally bring me peace. But this time, the silence felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. That night, Rains came by with updates. "We traced some offshore transactions linked to Jason's accounts," he said. "They lead to a company registered in the Cayman Islands, owned by someone named Victor Hale." So he was real. "We're running background checks, but this guy's good. Fake IDs, false passports, clean records. It's like he doesn't exist." I rubbed my temples. "And Samantha?" "She's still cooperating," he said. "She's terrified of this man. She said Victor knows everything about your family, your addresses, your bank, even your late wife's life insurance policy." That last part made me freeze. How would he know about that? He hesitated. "She said She might have told Jason about it, and Jason forwarded the documents to Victor. My stomach turned. Even my wife's memory wasn't safe from them. A few nights later, something strange happened. One of the officers guarding me stepped outside to take a call. Minutes later, the other one went to check and found the car door open, engine running, and the officer gone. Vanished. Rains rushed to the scene, barking orders into his radio. "They found us," he muttered. "We have to move you again, now." Before we could leave, a drone buzzed over the treetops. I could hear it, a faint mechanical whine. It hovered for a few seconds, then zipped away into the woods. The other officer pointed his flashlight towards it and said, "They're watching us from the air." That was when it hit me. This wasn't just a man we were dealing with, it was an organized operation. Victor Hale wasn't some lone scammer. He had resources, money, and people everywhere. Rains finally decided to take Samantha out of her holding cell and move her into protective custody too. If Victor thinks she's going to talk, she's in as much danger as you. He wasn't wrong. 2 days later, I got another letter, this time delivered to the police office itself. Inside, a single photo. Me, sitting on the cabin porch, drinking coffee, taken from a distance. On the back of the photo, written in red marker, were just 4 words. "We're closer than you think." Rains slammed his hand on the desk. "This ends now. We're pulling every string we can. If Victor Hale wants a war, he's about to get one." That night, I couldn't sleep. My thoughts were spiraling. Fear, anger, guilt. Had my daughter's greed brought this danger upon us both? Or was she just another pawn in Victor's game? Then my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "Edward, it's Samantha. They know where I am. Help me." My blood ran cold. Before I could even reply, another message appeared, this one not from Samantha. "If you want to see your daughter alive again, stop talking to the police." The message on my phone kept flashing like a warning light. "If you want to see your daughter alive again, stop talking to the police." My hand shook as I stared at the screen. I wanted to believe it was a bluff, some scare tactic, but deep down, I knew Victor Hale wasn't bluffing. He was making a move. I immediately called Detective Rains, ignoring the threat. "They have her, Rains. Samantha's been taken." Within minutes, the safe house turned into a war room. Agents moved in, checking every phone tower ping, every car that had left the nearby roads in the last hour. Samantha's GPS ankle monitor had been removed, found dumped behind a gas station 2 miles away. Rains slammed a fist on the table. "He's got professionals working for him. This isn't a street kidnapping. They're ghosts." I sat there numb. My daughter had betrayed me, but she was still my daughter. And if she was in danger because of the truth she revealed, I couldn't just sit and wait. That night, after everyone else had turned in, I went through my old folders again, the ones from my engineering days. I found an old contact, Ethan Cole. He was an ex-military systems engineer, now working private security in Honolulu. We hadn't spoken in years, but I knew he owed me a favor. I called him. "Ethan, it's Ed Miller." "Ed? Man, I haven't heard that name in forever. What's going on?" "Someone took my daughter. The man's name is Victor Hale." There was silence on the line for a few seconds. Then Ethan's tone changed, hard, sharp. "I've heard that name. He's not just a scam artist, Ed. He's ex-intelligence turned black market broker. He launders money through fake investments and uses people like Jason to do his dirty work." So it was worse than we thought. "Can you help me find her?" I asked. "You bet I can, but it won't be easy. Hale's smart. If he took her, it's because he wants leverage,
And if you want your daughter back, you'll have to play by his rules until we can turn them against him." The next morning, I received another message from the same number. "You want your daughter back. Come alone tomorrow, 9 p.m., Kapina Wharf, Honolulu. Bring no cops." Kapina Wharf, the same dock area where I was supposed to disappear months ago. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was poetic revenge. When I showed the text to Rains, he wanted to send a SWAT team. "We can't let you go in there alone, Ed." But I shook my head. "If Hale sees any cops, she's dead. Let me go. But give me backup. Quiet backup." Rains hesitated, then finally nodded. "We'll shadow you, but you don't make a move unless we give the word." That night, I stood by the wharf under the flickering yellow lights. The air smelled of salt and oil. My heart pounded as footsteps echoed on the wet concrete. Out of the darkness came two men in black coats, and between them, Samantha. Her hands were tied, a strip of duct tape over her mouth. Her eyes met mine, terrified but alive. Then another man stepped forward, tall, clean-cut, ice-cold eyes. Victor Hale. He looked nothing like a criminal. He looked like a CEO. Calm, confident, wearing a gray suit and a smirk that chilled me to the bone. "Mr. Hale," he said smoothly, "you're a difficult man to get rid of." "Let her go," I said, my voice shaking. "You've already taken enough." He chuckled. "Oh, I don't want your money anymore. I want your silence. You've brought far too much attention to my business." He gestured to the men holding Samantha. "I'll let her go if you promise to disappear. Tonight. No police, no media, no more stories. Just vanish." I clenched my fists. "You want me to die quietly, is that it?" He tilted his head. "Let's call it, an early retirement." At that moment, I heard the faint click of a radio in my ear. Rain's voice whispering, "We've got visual. Wait for our signal." But Victor noticed. His eyes darted to my collar, and before I could react, he pulled a pistol from his jacket and fired a shot in the air. "No police!" he shouted, his calm mask cracking. "I said no police!" Chaos broke out. Agents stormed from behind crates, gunfire erupted, and I dropped to the ground, shielding my daughter. One of Victor's men tried to grab her, but Rains tackled him from the side. Hale ran toward the edge of the pier, firing behind him until he reached a speedboat. He jumped in, engine roaring, disappearing into the black waves before anyone could catch him. When the smoke cleared, Samantha was safe, bruised, terrified, but alive. Rains put a hand on my shoulder. "We'll find him, Ed. I swear to you, he won't get far." But I looked out over the dark water, the sound of the waves echoing like ghosts, because something in my gut told me Victor Hale wasn't done, and neither was I.
The next morning, the Hawaiian sun rose over the Pacific, bright, warm, peaceful. But peace was the last thing on my mind. Victor Hale had escaped. My daughter was safe, yes, but I knew it wasn't over. You don't survive a man like Hale by waiting for him to strike again. You end it before he does. Detective Rains came to see me at the temporary safe house. He looked exhausted, eyes red, voice low. "We found his boat, Ed. It washed up near Oahu, burned to the hull, but no body." I shook my head slowly. "That man doesn't die that easily." Rains sighed. "You're right." Satellite shows a private jet leaving a nearby airstrip 2 hours after the shootout. Flight filed under a fake name, destination, Los Angeles. I stared at the horizon. Hale wasn't hiding. He was moving. And if he made it back to the mainland, he'd vanish forever. That's when Samantha came in. She looked pale, still trembling from last night, but determined. "Dad," she said, "I want to help." I looked at her, speechless for a moment. This was the same daughter who'd once sent me away to die on a fake vacation. But her eyes, they were different now. Softer, filled with guilt. "You've already done enough, honey," I said quietly. "No," she whispered. "I owe you everything. Hale made me believe I was helping Jason, but I was just helping him. He used us both." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a USB drive. "Before he took me, I copied something from his tablet. Financial records, offshore accounts, fake shell companies, everything." Rain's eyes widened. "That's a gold mine. This could bring down his entire network." And just like that, we had a plan. For the next 48 hours, the FBI and Cyber Division worked non-stop. Samantha sat beside me, helping identify people, codes, transactions. I watched her, every keystroke, every sigh, and saw a young woman finally realizing the depth of her mistakes. Late one night, she turned to me. "Dad, when I sent you that ticket to Hawaii, I thought I was saving us. Jason told me Hale would cancel our debts if I could get you out of the way for a few months. I didn't know what that meant until I saw your name on the insurance file." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Dad." I took her hand and whispered, "We can't change what's done, but we can finish it." A week later, we flew to Los Angeles under protection. The FBI traced Hale's new identity to a penthouse in Santa Monica, the same one he used to funnel funds through a fake charity foundation. Rains led the operation, but he wanted me there. "You started this, Ed. You deserve to see it through." We arrived just before dawn. The city was quiet, the streets glistening after a light rain. Inside the building, everything smelled of expensive cologne and polished marble. When we breached the penthouse, Hale was standing by the window, wearing that same smug smile. No fear, no surprise, just disappointment. "Mr. Miller, you really should have taken the vacation." Rains ordered him to freeze. Agents surrounded him, weapons drawn. But Hale just chuckled. "You think this ends with me in handcuffs? You have no idea how deep this goes." Then he turned his eyes to me. "And you, still pretending to be the hero? Tell me, Ed, after everything your daughter did, after how she betrayed you, do you really believe she deserves forgiveness?" For a second, his words burned. But then I looked at Samantha, standing behind me, trembling, but unbroken. "No," I said. "She doesn't deserve it." Hale smirked until I stepped closer and added, "But I'm giving it anyway, because I'm not you." Before he could answer, Rains snapped the cuffs on his wrists. Hale struggled for the first time, his calm mask cracking. "You think you've won, Miller? I built this empire. You can't destroy what you don't understand." Rains smiled coldly. "We don't have to destroy it. We just have to let the IRS and the media do their job." As he was dragged away, Hale turned one last time, his eyes full of hatred. This isn't over. But it was. Weeks later, Samantha and I stood at the same beach where it all began. The waves rolled gently, warm wind brushing against our faces. She looked out at the horizon. "You ever think you'll forgive me?" she asked quietly. I smiled faintly. "I already did." She looked down, tears falling. "I don't deserve you." "You're my daughter. That's enough." We stood there for a long time, just watching the water. The same ocean that once symbolized my exile now represented our healing. Then she whispered, "What will you do now?"
I smiled. Start living again. Maybe open a small boat repair shop here in Hawaii. Something simple. She laughed softly. A one-way ticket that finally had a return. Months later, the news broke. Victor Hale sentenced to 35 years in federal prison for fraud, kidnapping, and attempted murder. The camera showed him in handcuffs, the same cold eyes now filled with defeat. I turned off the TV and walked outside, the sunset painting the sky in gold. For the first time in a long while, I felt peace. And as the waves lapped against the shore, I whispered, "Thank you, Samantha, for giving me a reason to come home again."